The old railway station was almost a ghost, a forgotten relic at the edge of town. Paint peeled from its tired walls like old memories. Above the platform, a single clock ticked with a lazy rhythm, as if it had nowhere important to be and all the time in the world to get there. Only one train ever stopped here each day, the last train, arriving just as the sun bled across the horizon. And every single evening, Arjun stood on that platform, same spot. Same time, waiting. The people in the village whispered as they passed by, "There he is again," they'd say. Still chasing that foolish dream, they remembered the boy who had left with fire in his eyes and promises on his lips. Years ago, Arjun had boarded a train from this very station, filled with grand ambitions. He was going to build something meaningful, a business that would lift his family out of their struggles and write a new story for them all. But the city was a beast with teeth of steel and a heart of stone. It chewed up his dreams and spit them out. He lost money, then friends. Doors he'd hoped would open were slammed shut in his face. When he finally returned home, he carried nothing but the heavy weight of his silence. And yet, every evening, without fail, he returned to that station. He just stood there, watching the tracks disappear into the twilight, waiting for the last train. His father, his face etched with concern, once asked him, "Son, why do you go there every day? You already came back, the journey is over." Arjun's reply was barely a whisper. "I'm not waiting for the train, father. I'm waiting for courage." Days melted into months. Each evening was a ritual. He watched the handful of strangers who stepped off the train-weary workers with slumped shoulders, hopeful students clutching their books, travelers with distant dreams still shining in their eyes. He studied their faces, a collection of human stories arriving at the platform. Some looked scared, hesitant, but they stepped forward anyway. And that simple act of stepping forward fascinated him. One evening, a little girl stepped off the train, her small hand swallowed up in her mother's. She looked around, her eyes wide with nerves. "Mom," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly, "what if I fail?" Her mother knelt down, her gaze gentle but firm. And she said something that Arjun would never forget. "Then you fail, my love, and you try again. The train always comes back tomorrow. The train always comes back tomorrow." Those words echoed in the quiet corners of Arjun's mind. Something inside him shifted, like a lock finally clicking open. Failure wasn't a final destination, it wasn't a dead end. It was just another arrival, another station. Another chance to gather your breath and step forward again. The next morning, for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, Arjun woke before the sun. The crushing weight on his chest was gone. He felt light. He found his old, dusty notebook, the one filled with business ideas and scribbled plans from his younger, more hopeful self. He opened it and began to write. But this time, his approach was different. He started small. There were no grand promises, no dreams of overnight success, no shortcuts. Just one simple rule, consistent steps, one after the other. He started by repairing bicycles in the village. It wasn't glamorous work, it certainly wasn't impressive. But he showed up every single day. He was reliable, he was honest, and slowly the villagers began to trust him. The trickle of work became a steady stream. He saved every penny he could. Months later, he had saved enough to expand into a small workshop. Then that workshop grew into a proper shop. Soon, he was forging supply partnerships with the nearby towns. His quiet, consistent effort was building something real, something tangible. But no matter how busy his days became, he never missed his evening visit to the station. He would stand there as the sun set, watching the last train roll in. He wasn't waiting anymore, he was remembering. One evening, he noticed a young man sitting on the bench, his shoulders slumped, his gaze fixed on the empty tracks. He looked lost. Arjun sat down beside him. "You look like someone who's lost their way," he said gently. The young man let out a heavy sigh. "I failed. I went to the city with big plans, and I failed. Now I don't know what to do next." Arjun smiled, a warm, knowing smile. "Good," he said. The young man looked up, utterly confused. Good, what's good about it? Yes, good, Arjun repeated. It means you tried. It means you had the courage to get on the train in the first place. Most people never even make it to the platform, and as the evening light softened, Arjun shared his own story, the crushing failures, the long days of waiting, and the profound lesson he learned from the last train. The train comes every day, Arjun said, his voice steady and calm. And so does opportunity. You only truly fail when you stop showing up to the platform. The young man listened, his expression slowly changing from despair to contemplation. As the whistle of the approaching train pierced the quiet air, he stood up. His shoulders seemed straighter, his eyes brighter. The fear that had clouded his face was replaced by a flicker of determination. Thank you, he said, his voice full of a newfound resolve. I think I'll try again. Arjun watched him board the train. The doors closed, the whistle blew one last time, and the train disappeared into the horizon, a trail of light against the darkening sky. And Arjun smiled. All those years ago, he thought he was waiting for a train. He thought he was waiting for some external sign, for some magical moment of courage to arrive, but he wasn't. He was learning. He was learning patience. He was learning resilience. He was learning that the courage to begin again doesn't arrive on a train. It's built day by day, right there on the platform. And that understanding, he realized, made all the difference. The true moral of his story is this: failure isn't the end of your journey. It's just the platform where you decide to board again. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that inspires you to keep showing up for your own journey. See you in the next video.